And we're live. Welcome to MetalMatrix After Dark. Actually, let's do it official here. Welcome to MetalMatrix After Dark. So, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? Well, the world is my oyster, as I say. The world is my oyster. Oh man, this is my first official stream, live stream on YouTube. I figure I'm gonna give it a try on a regular basis, and it's gonna be called Metal Matrix After Dark. And I'm gonna talk about technology, current events, movies, pop culture, anything of my domain that I prefer. I know people say, oh, concentrate on one area to get people interested. But hey, if you're not interested, don't have to. If you're interested, then subscribe and maybe you catch something that I'm going to talk about. Anyways, one of my topics I'm going to talk about is I'm struggling to find a monitor that I would like to utilize. I want to get a new one of those newer IPS monitors with a 240 hertz, 244 hertz. And do you think you can find any right now? What's the sense of releasing product when you can't even get the product? I know graphics cards were like that, but you know what? Same as the monitors now. Computer parts, monitors, everything is just a short supply. I'm going to take my headsets off for now. Put on my normal shtick. Put on my normal stick. There we go. So yeah, it's been frustrating because I've been trying to find a monitor so that I can have two monitors going. Right now, I'm utilizing one. I do have some other monitors, but unfortunately, with my newer updated computer, they're hard to come by. They won't give me what's the word I'm looking for? The connectors are not exactly the same. I got the not the DVI. God, what the H? It's not HDMI. Oh God, I can't remember the. Oh, I'm gonna have to take a look here. I gotta take a look here. Oh, come on, where was it? Actually, it was DVI. It is DVI. That's what it was. It was DVI. Anyways, so, and unfortunately, you have a different type of connectors on here. You got HDMI and the DisplayPort. DisplayPort, that's what I was confusing. DisplayPort to DVI. DisplayPort and HDMI, but no DVI. So I'm stuck with that. Anyways, so it's been a struggle trying to find the monitor. A real struggle. Real struggle. uh, what else? What else can I say? What else can I talk about? Well, okay, let's talk about Halloween's coming up. And in one of my videos, I've got a 3D printer, and I'm printing these for Halloween. I'm going to paint this one gray, and then I'm going to have a light bulb inside this and have it display outside. I'm in the process of making these bigger because I got some lights that I want to sit in there, and then model the bottom and put a connector on the bottom that the light can connect to. But that's my future video on that one. And then I'm proud of this print. This is a really good print. Really good print. I'm going to start painting this one, and I'm going to, I may or may not, I haven't decided yet whether or not to do a video on it. Pardon me. So, anyways, that's the other thing that I was going to talk about. Bear with me because I only got one monitor, and this is going to look kind of unprofessional right now until I get the second monitor up and running. That's the frustrating part. I did want to talk about another subject that has come up. And it's recently what's happened here that United States has allowed the CEO of Huawei to go home without serving any time. That's the funny part about this whole thing. And yet, and it's interesting. Interesting. But we have to. Pardon me. Oh, Jesus. Stupid freaking. Let's see what we're looking for. Oh. I know what I'll do. Let's go. Close this and reopen this. It's interesting of note while I'm doing this. Oh yeah, here we go. There we go. All right, so bear with me while I do this. Yes, I know this is not professional. It's not professional. And we, but I'm stuck with one monitor right now until I get a replacement monitor. That's what's the biggest problem right now. And you're seeing my video playback and everything else. All right, where are we here? Oh, wrong one. There we go. So the two Michaels that were arrested when Meg Wan was detained by Canada under the request of the United States. These two Michaels, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, were arrested in China and on trumped up charges. So China has continually sat there and said, oh, no, these were separate. They're not linked or anything like that. And lo and behold, wow, they did that. And it's it's disgusting. It is utterly disgusting in regards to how we are continuing to allow China to get away with what they're getting away with. You know, have truth and reconciliation? How can we sit there and have, what has happened to the Jewish if we do not start standing up to what countries are doing to their own citizens? China currently detains their citizens illegally for protesting, and currently they have re-education camps, as they call it, in a province where Disney filmed Mulan, and it's like, are you kidding me? And we hold our governments accountable for truth and reconciliation, Black Lives Matter, and all the other stuff. But yet we will not hold. And what Black Lives Matter. Let's talk about Black Lives Matters. That one is the one that really gets me. Is they're demanding all this justice and everything else, but yet from these corporations, but yet they are continually not demanding these corporations to get out of China and move their manufacturing somewhere else until China either smartens up and respects the rule of law, or what's the word I'm looking for? Or they no longer become a communist country. And that's not going to happen. I know that. It's ingrained too much in their society, which is fine. But the number one thing is rule of law. To go out and arrest these two gentlemen because their CAO from Huawei was arrested by conspiracy charges to violate the United States sanctions, then they need to let the system happen. You know, what's funny is that these two gentlemen spent time in a Chinese jail, and they are not nice. Meanwhile, she got to stay home in her multi-million-dollar mansion, and then she complained about too many security guards that was infringing on her rights. What a loaded crap. It's garbage. It's complete garbage. Anyways, what it says here is that after 1,020 days, they were glad to come home because it was a prisoner exchange. That's what it was. It was not, oh, well, they were, China saying, oh, well, they were charged and we sent them home because they were ill. What a load of garbage. But while experts are applauding the U.S. for the role of getting the two Michaels home, the White House is distancing itself from the development. We have an independent Justice Department that independent decisions. Law enforcement, says Press Secretary Joe Paczynski speaking during the Monday briefing. At the same time, we have made no secret about our push to have the two Michaels released. That's certainly a positive and good news. It's going to be interesting to see the relationship now between Canada, China, United States, and China. We need to hold China accountable. There is rule of law. Whether you decide it's guilty before and you have to prove yourself innocent, like in Italy, or innocent until proven guilty, you gotta have a rule of law in regards to it, that you cannot sit there and just trump up charges, which is what China did. And what's worse is that she spends zero time and does not admit any fault, except she is at fault. That's the weird part. Says here, despite White House denials, a Canadian former foreign minister says Biden is responsible for bringing the two Michaels home. Actually, it is because he has leverage that he is willing to use in negotiating and reducing charges against Meg Wilson. Again, the former foreign American. Interesting. Interesting. Whereas in Canada, we don't have any political interference to the justice system. We can put laws in like we did with the SEL Levelin issue that there is a way for SEL Levelin to pay some fines and do some other stuff without any issues. But there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. By the way, I better silence this here so that I'm not. And again, China refuses to link the freeing of Spavor and Kovrig to Meg's deal, instead citing health reasons to return to Canada. You know what, China? Don't lie. We know what it is. We're not dumb people. No matter what you say, it's ridiculous. But it just flabbergasts me that we continually allow China to, as citizens of the world, as products that we buy, we continually not hold corporations accountable for manufacturing in a communist country. All they care about is making that money out of the billion Chinese people in China. That's all they want. They don't care about it. And the worst is Apple. Apple built a multi-billion-dollar data center to hold all the Chinese citizens' data that they use on their iPhone so that they could get into the market. It is strange how corporations here in our country will negotiate and push the government to uh, change laws or tax breaks, left, right, and center. But when it comes to human rights, they don't even hold a country accountable that they go into because they want to make the money, and they know that China right now has them by the kahunas because they don't have a manufacturing center somewhere else. And now whose fault's that? That's the corporations. And they found that out with the COVID, that how much they're dependent on China, and they need to start looking at, you know, diversifying their manufacturing locations. It's bloody ridiculous. Anyways, it's interesting so far that nobody has come in. Just need to enter. Okay, let's put my OSB bigger now again. I know, not professional. I'm gonna have to tidy it up. Okay, so been live for 19 minutes and 20 seconds. Interesting. Well, we talked about the that part. How about let's talk about the Canadian federal election? That's another one to talk about. It's interesting how the mainstream media has been twisting the current election as saying $6 million waste of money, $6 million change of cabinet. You know, I look at it at a different view. It was a chance for the Canadian people to tell the government which way they wanted to go. And they decided to keep it status quo. And the problem I have with this whole thing was the Conservative government, or sorry, Aaron O'Toole from the Conservative Party, the first thing he came out here when he came out and did his speech, condolence speech, was he started accusing Trudeau of dividing the country further. He didn't divide the country further. The country basically spoke up and said, we want you guys to work together to come to a common goal. And instead of sitting there and saying, we're going to work, we're going to make this a greater country, no, instead, Aaron O'Toole, you're the one that is splitting the country. You and the Conservative Party continually do this because all you care about is getting into power and putting your own spin on things. And that started during the Harper era. And that's why I will not vote for you guys. I will not vote for you until you guys show some sign that you're willing to work to a common goal to make this country a better place. Not to grab power. You sit there and you call Trudeau grabbing power. No, Aaron O'Toole, you're the one that wanted the power. You're the one that didn't succeed. We, the Canadian people, have spoken up and said, enough's enough. We want you guys to work together. It's not like down in the States where the majority vote and it's split almost half and half. The votes were 35-33 or 34% to, I think it was, I would have to look it up here. But it does that, and it split to the Liberals, the PPC, the Green Party. It showed that the Canadian people want a government that's going to work together right now to get us through this pandemic. And we like ideas from both parties. I do. I do. I'd be more than willing if there's a party leader in the Conservative that will sit back and say, hey, you know what, people of Canada, you have spoken. You have basically told us that you want a minority government and you want to work to a common goal. We will work with the current government that we have. But no, Aaron O'Toole, the first thing was blame Trudeau, blame Trudeau, blame Trudeau. And that was with Harper, Scheer, and now you. You've carried it on from the Harper era. When Harper had a minority government and the Liberals were willing to work with him. The Liberals were willing to work with Harper. But Harper told him, no, it's my way or the highway. And forced an election. That is why I will not vote Conservative. I voted Conservative when they were willing to work with this country and make this country a better place instead of grasping for power to influence their own political agendas. Sometimes you got to compromise your political ideas to make this country go in a specific direction. And that you guys do not do. Now, I'm not saying the Liberal government was perfect. I'm not saying that I voted Liberal. I'm not saying I voted NDP. I'm not voting that I said voted Green. But at least the NDP are willing to work. The Liberals Trudeau came out and sat there. He says, you guys have spoken and you given me a mandate. And everybody says, oh, no, they didn't. They didn't give him a mandate. Yes, they did give him a mandate. They gave him a mandate that he needed to work with the current government that he currently has. It's a minority government. And you know what? Aaron O'Toole and the Conservative Party, you're allowing the NDP to dictate the trend. If you guys sat there and turned around and said, you know what, we're willing to work with the current government that's out there, or the Bloc, because the Bloc are now going to hold some of the power too. then you could push those two parties and maybe get a common agenda together that brings us to the center. That's the frustrating part, is that you, the conservatives, are the ones that are dividing the country. The liberals, I don't think they're dividing the country, but they are trying to work, and I'm going to see. I could be wrong. Again, I'm not telling you my political views because I don't think it's necessary, but the liberals have their issues. I don't like the money that they're handing out to the citizens of Canada, the $2,000 that is not getting people back to work. People don't want to get to work. There's shortages out there, and we need to get people back to work so that the shortages are gone, that the hospitality industry gets the employment that they need to fill those jobs. Because people, when they get money for free, are not going to work. And what's even worse is that your senior citizens make less money than the people that are currently on this CERB or whatever you want to call it for this COVID. That's the sad part. People who are on old age security or CPP are making less than the $2,000 you're handing out to the citizens of Canada. And that's disgusting. That is disgusting. Alrighty. Figured I'd go for half an hour here, and so far I got no views, but hey, that's because I didn't schedule it. And I'm hopefully going to have some, what you would call intros done and everything else. That's my plan. Um, what else do I want to talk about? I know. Something that's dear to heart to me. And there'll be a video coming out tomorrow on it. Recently, I had a passing in our family. My uncle, who was very close to me, he was important to me, and unfortunately, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's-like disease. I'll just give me a second here while I look it up. It's like Parkinson's, but they call it the evil twin of Parkinson's. Just bear with me. That's not what it is. Okay. Just bear with me. I'm looking at it. Hmm. There we go. There it is. PSP, 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 PSP. Subnuclear palsy is what it's called. That was what my uncle was. He was initially diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but later re-diagnosed as progressive subnuclear palsy. It is a disorder of the brain that can cause issues with patients' ability to balance, walk, and have normal eye movement. In the United States, about 20,000 individuals have PSP. It's classified as a degenerative neurological disorder, and the symptoms it causes are progressive. In addition to physical impairments, patients also tend to experience cognitive impairment and personality changes. At the beginning of his diagnosis, when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it was a slow progress. It would, you know, when you hear about it, you know, with Michael J. Fox and everything else, you think it's a fast, but it was a slow progress. And then that's when they discovered that he had progressive super superannual nuclear palsy, and shortly, a few years later, you started noticing some things. And his personality changes didn't happen until later on. Um, it was interesting. Sorry, I shouldn't say it's interesting. That's not. It was to watch the last couple of years of his life. He started experiencing personality disorder. He was, you know, having issues here and there. Um, I don't want to delve into it too much of it. And then unfortunately, he fell down, broke his hip, placed in the hospital, and unfortunately, his he never recovered from it. He battled back. He was on the road to recovery. The doctors and the nurses were shocked in regards to how he was doing, and figured, oh, he's going to be sent not home to a care home, and then from the care home, probably home was the goal. And unfortunately, that didn't happen, and he passed away. Um, it's a thing that's very dear to my heart. I to watch somebody that cared, that personified the way he looked on life. He taught me basically, you are responsible for your actions, and gave me that. You know, you work hard, you pay for it. You know, when you're at work, you work hard. You know, and that's where I learned, you know, that when I'm at work, work is work, and you're responsible for your actions. You can do whatever you want, but remember, there's consequences for every action you have, whether it's positive or negative, but own up to it. And I've lived by that rule every single time. The sad part was I never got a chance to spend hunt and fish like I was going to with him. By the time things were working on my side of things and getting into it, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's and slowly got out of hunting and fishing because he couldn't do it. And unfortunately, I was unable to visit him because of COVID. And that's the way it goes. Anyways, looks like nobody's in here. I'm gonna, I waited half an hour. I figured I'd give a quick live stream. Hopefully, when I set up a proper way to do it, it works. Anyway, I'm going to end it here. Take care. Peace out.